Yo, what up? It's Matty Mills. I am reporting from the magical mystery forest of destiny. And I wanted to talk today about an idea that's been on my mind for about the last 2 years or so. And when I teach you this concept, I feel that you're going to have a complete paradigm shift in terms of your entire business. Maybe you're thinking of starting a business. Maybe you already have an existing business and you're like, man, how can I scale and grow that business? So what I want to do today is give you one idea that I believe is the most powerful thing that you can start to do right now. In fact, by the end of this video, you're going to see that it's the exact same thing that I'm doing. All right. But before we get started and actually tell you this idea, I want to tell you the story about how I actually came up with this idea. So at the end of last year, right, in December, like a few months back, I was sitting there and I'm like, okay, let's look at all the clients that I've helped in the last 12 months. And then I'm like, okay, let's actually go back further. Let's look back the last 3 or 4 years and let's look at the clients and the businesses that have been the most successful. And I want to find that one reason and that one thing that they've been doing that all the other businesses haven't been doing, okay? And I found that one thing, all right? And if we even go a little bit further back, all right, I actually started to develop this idea a couple of years ago, but I really started to understand how powerful this thing is during the pandemic. So when the pandemic first started to happen, I saw all these mainstream TV channels, right? There was this big shift that happened, right? They couldn't go to their production studio, they couldn't go into their teams. And so instead of shooting in their studio where they could have a live audience, where they could have their whole production team, where they could have the host and the producer and all the people in-house, they had to pivot online. And you know what happened? A lot of these TV shows just completely started to suck, right? You might have noticed this yourself. Maybe it was the technology, they weren't able to adapt quick enough and actually execute what they wanted to do. But in most cases, to be honest, I just found that the host of the show, right? The person behind the show, they weren't really doing a good job, right? They weren't becoming that magnetizing person who would actually draw people towards them, right? And the thing is, another thing that I noticed is when I started to watch multiple shows, I noticed it was the same thing across every single show that I was watching, right? Whether it was late night TV, whether it was daytime people interviewing each other, right? I started to notice these things and I'm like, okay, all of this stuff is just so boring, right? They're just bringing the same idea. They're talking about the same things. And so there was this idea that someone talked about a few years ago, and it was something that kind of someone planted the seed and I thought about it for a long time. And when I looked through all my clients who had the most success, they had that one thing. And when I looked at the clients who didn't have the success they wanted, they didn't have that one thing. And that one thing is known as the attractive character, right? There was someone who was the face of the brand, right? Who was actually speaking to the audience and who was sharing different ideas, different viewpoints. They were telling very magnetizing stories, right? Very emotional and compelling stories. They were not boring whatsoever. In a lot of cases, they were very polarizing as well. So they would be sharing opinions and ideas that weren't normally expressed in the mainstream. They were sharing different points of view. Now, by doing this one thing, you'll notice that a lot of people are just going to hate you right off the bat, right? They're going to talk smack about you, whether to your face. They're going to leave some comments talking negatively about you. Maybe they'll even say it to their face if they do have the confidence to do so. So by being the attractive character and being polarizing, not being boring, sharing compelling stories, you're going to get a lot of hate for that one thing, right? But the thing is, it's actually a good thing because those people were probably never going to do business with you in the first place. Now, on the flip side, by becoming the attractive character, you're also going to have those people where when you say one idea of yours, right, whatever niche you're in, you're going to say one important idea, it's going to resonate with them. And they're going to be like, oh man, this guy read my mind. Like he knew exactly what I was thinking. And those people, it's going to be a lot easier to sell those people, right? When you have a call to action finally, and you've been bringing these people a lot of goodwill, building that relationship, sharing the ideas, and essentially reading people's minds. Because in a lot of cases, what you need to do as the attractive character is you're basically just saying what people are too afraid to say themselves. They might be thinking something, but they're too afraid. they'll feel that they're going to feel some sort of guilt or shame by expressing their point of view, so they're just not going to say it, right? But if you're that person that actually comes and expresses that idea and articulates it to them, they're going to be like, wow, like this guy read my mind, had that idea, and had the balls to express that idea themselves. All right. I think that by developing the attractive character, it's like the most important thing. And the advantage of this whole pandemic too is that so many of these mainstream people that you've seen, right? You might see these Hollywood stars, right? You might see some of these billionaires, and they have these influencers, and they have these huge social media followings. They're not even that charismatic. In a lot of cases, their shows that they create, whether it's a podcast or a TV show or a YouTube channel, the content is actually kind of boring, all right? So you have a massive advantage over these people, all right? So if you're able to become the attractive character in your niche, it's going to allow you to pull people towards you a lot easier, because again, the people who don't like you, they're never going to come to you. But the people where you speak your mind and you actually say something, whether it's controversial or just something they were thinking themselves, man, it's going to be so much easier for you to actually win over those people, right? So this is something that you've seen me do as well, right? Now that I've shown you kind of the framework or just the big idea that I've kind of had, right? For me, I've had this realization for a few years, right? But I never really implemented it just because I made the excuse that I was too busy, even though everyone has the same amount of hours in the week. We all have 128 hours in a week, so there's really no reason or excuses to not become the attractive character. But I still made this excuse myself. So I would shoot videos on and off for quite a long time, right? And then I would just drop the ball and I wouldn't shoot a video for a long time. I haven't recorded an episode of my podcast in, I would say, about 14, 15 months since February of 2020. I haven't reported a single episode of my podcast. At the same time though, even though I have about less than 3,000 downloads total of my podcast ever, I still get clients coming to me from those episodes. Someone will search on iTunes or on Spotify, and because I've titled my videos properly and I've basically set it up to be optimized by that specific platform, people find my video, they listen to it, they're like, wow, this guy knows what he's talking about. They listen to another episode, they find me, they get in touch with me, and they get on a call with me, and usually I end up selling them something. And that's essentially the funnel that I've set up for myself. But it all really starts with the attractive character. So what I did is I'm like, okay, I just need to suck it up, because I always tell people about this and they never implement it. I tell my clients about this all the time, because I'm like, I can build you the best funnel ever, where 100% of the people that go through it, they're going to be closed, and they're going to crawl over broken glass to give you their credit card number. But if you don't have the attractive character, it's not going to work. And then they come to me and they're like, well, you're not doing it. So that's why I set up my podcast, right? So at least I have something there. And then I realized, I'm like, okay, realistically, in 2021, people listen to podcasts, they read blogs, but video is probably your best option. So that's what I started doing. I'm just starting to record more and more and more videos. And what I want to do is I want to elaborate on the idea of the attractive character. Why do I want to do this? Because I plan to actually write a book. My first book is solely going to be on this one concept of the attractive character. I've actually spent 2 or 3 years creating a document and just adding ideas to this document. And gradually, I just want to roll these out to you. And by doing so, you can take this stuff, implement it. You can become the attractive character just like I'm trying to do. And again, once you have that following, once you build that audience, you can sell people whatever you want, right? Whatever products you have, you can sell it to them. So I think the biggest thing that I learned actually from Seth Godin a few years ago, one of the most important marketing ideas that I ever learned in my entire life, was that people make the biggest mistake people make with their marketing is that they try and find customers for their products. So they go out there, they create some awesome, amazing product, and then they create all the infrastructure, and they're like, okay, now it's time to market. But it's actually the flip side, right? What you really need to do is you need to find products for your customers, meaning you need to find those customers first. You need to get those people following you, see you as the authority, see you as the expert, see you as the attractive character that they want to become. And then once they follow you, you're like, hey, by the way, I have this awesome thing that you can buy that's going to help you become the attractive character just like me. And people are going to be like, oh, awesome. He's been working on something great. And again, make that offer based on what they want, not what you want. And to be honest, using that formula, you're probably going to be very successful. So that's really just the one idea that I wanted to share with you guys today. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to have way more ideas on the attractive character coming up. In the meantime, I just want you to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, leave a comment below telling me if you liked this video or if you hated it. And then, yeah, hit that bell notification to know when the next video will drop. And yeah, I'm again reporting from the magical mystery forest, and I will see you very soon. Have a great one. Have a blessed day, and be grateful. Peace.